and welcome to UCEA Google Plus Hangouts on Air. This is Gopal Midha, a graduate research assistant and doctoral student at UCEA headquarters at the University of Virginia. I'm here today to interview Megan Tschannan-Moran as part of her candidacy for the UCEA Executive Committee. Today, listeners will be hearing from Megan Tschannan-Moran, Professor of Educational Leadership in the School of Education, College of William and Mary. Her research focuses on the relationships of trust in schools and how these are related to important outcomes such as the collective efficacy beliefs of a school faculty, teacher professionalism, and student achievement. Welcome, Dr. Tschannan-Moran.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and let's begin with the first question. So can you please tell us about your background and your scholarship as it relates to leadership preparation and practice?
Sure. So I started my career as an educational leader just 2 years into my teaching career when I was inspired to start an alternative school in a low-income neighborhood in Chicago. That proved to be just wonderful and life-changing work. And it's work that I did for 14 years, living and working in this community in Chicago that had been in recent transition from what had been mostly a primarily middle-income neighborhood to primarily low-income and minority. And the schools were really struggling. And so we started this alternative school as an opportunity to try out progressive teaching methods with a population that wasn't benefiting from them. And we were really quite successful in creating a vibrant little school community there. And so after 14 years, for a variety of reasons, it was time to move on, and I was longing to go to graduate school. Some of the teachers in my school had been to graduate school and came back sharing these big ideas and with this wonderful language around important ideas in schooling. For example, the president of our board was getting his doctorate at the University of Chicago, and he was talking about this. He was doing his dissertation on something that sounded really cool I hadn't heard of at the time. It was called student engagement. You know, that was a big new idea. So the idea that there was language that we could put around the experience that we were having there in this wonderful little school really intrigued me, and I was just wanted to find ways to share the kind of experience that we had in this little small incubator school with a larger population. And to do that, we needed language. And so I set off to graduate school at The Ohio State University, and was very fortunate to arrive there just as Wayne Hoy and his wife Anita joined the faculty. And that was just really such an exciting opportunity for me, because I was trying to find words for what was these important qualities that people who would visit my little school in Chicago, but after just 5 or 10 minutes, they would say, "This is an amazing place." Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I know that because I live here, but you just got here. What is it you're seeing? What is it that you're noticing that's leading you to make these comments? And so that was the big question that I had as I went off to graduate school. And my very first term there, I had a course with Wayne Hoy where we were studying his work on school climate. I was like, oh, that's it. That's what that's called. Like, people are noticing that this feels like such a positive place to be. And I was so excited to have that language. And then I began to work with Wayne and his wife Anita on some work on teacher self-efficacy. And I was like, oh, that's it too. That's what kept these teachers coming to work every day, even though they were being paid very little money. It was so compelling to show up and do their best and give their best, because they knew they were making a difference. And so I thought, oh, wow, this is it. This is some of these big amorphous ideas. Mm-hmm. But then when it got time to write my dissertation, I thought, well, that's some of it. School climate and teacher self-efficacy are some of what we had going on in that little school. But there's another idea that nobody seems to be talking about that I think is really important, and that is trust. So that if we're going to spread the idea, if we're going to really create vibrant schools, then we need to understand more about how do you build trust, and what do you do, how do you intervene when things go wrong in the area of trust. So that became the foci of my research that has stood me in good stead, kept me very busy for the past 2 decades. And so all of these things are important to me in terms of how we prepare school leaders to think about their work and to act in productive ways. And so to do that, we really need to be thoughtful and serious about how we prepare school leaders.
Great, great. You have also served for several years as a plenary session representative. So can you tell us about your engagement in UCEA's governance?
Yes. So probably the most exciting thing that I've done is to be, be a part of the appreciative inquiry process that that the executive committee and the plenum have been engaged in for the last 3 years. I have served as a consultant to that process in a sense, helping to guide it and steer it and be a resource to the executive committee in order to help facilitate their planning for these events. And that has just been very, very rewarding. Partly because I'm just so excited about the appreciative inquiry process and think it has a lot of power for us at this particular moment in our history when so many educators are feeling so discouraged and undervalued. And so I think taking a strengths-based approach and adopting appreciative inquiry as a method for planning and in our schools is really important. And so having the opportunity for all of us collectively in UCEA's plenum to have hands-on experience of using the process of appreciative inquiry has been so exciting for me, because I recognize that it runs counter to a lot of assumptions we make about how we engage in planning, to think about, rather than doing a SWOT analysis where all the energy gets sucked up in the conversations about weaknesses and threats so often, that instead we would do a SOAR analysis, looking at strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and our resources that we have to bring to bear. That runs counter to people's intuitive notions, as well as what we've been taught about how to engage in planning. And so to have an experience together and to be able to see, hey, this really does lead to some very productive and exciting conversations, I think has been really wonderful for me to participate in.
Wonderful. In what other ways have you been engaged in UCEA?
Well, I've been an active member of the conference, the annual conference, for the last 2 decades, as a presenter, as a reviewer, as a discussant, and as a chair. So I think I may have only missed one UCEA conference in all those 2 decades. It's been a really important part of my own professional life and for my professional relationships. And so that's something that I really am so grateful that UCEA exists, and that all those years ago Martha McCarthy had the idea that, hey, we should get together once a year, that we should have a place where we can share our ideas and share our research with each other. I've also been on the faculty of the Clark Scholars twice, and once on the planning committee, and that too has been a very rewarding experience. That was a very meaningful experience for me when I was a graduate student, and so I have appreciated the opportunity to pay it forward, in a sense, to give back in ways that my professional work was furthered through that, through the Clark Scholar Seminar, and to do that. And then I also served 3 years on the Publications Committee.
Okay, so can you discuss with us your scholarship, research projects, teaching, or service that can inform the work of UCA, particularly the work of the EC?
Yes. So I mentioned earlier this work that I've been doing. This is my most recent work. I've been working with several graduate students, and we've been really trying to flesh out this construct that we've been calling vibrant schools. And our notion is that we ought to find a way to measure, to capture, and to talk about the qualities of schooling that would make a school a place that any of us would want for a child that we loved to spend their days. And so we're thinking about these as schools that foster curiosity and independent thought, as well as creativity. But in service of those ends are places where there's joy and laughter, movement and play. And to do that, of course, we need trust and a sense of collective efficacy among the faculty. And so, this is, you begin to see how all of my areas of scholarship begin to come together and converge around this idea of vibrant schools. Mm-hmm. And so, in order to have those kinds of schools, we very much need school leaders with a vision and with the capacity, the skills to be able to create those kind of environments. And so that is very relevant to the work of UCEA in terms of the preparation of school leaders, mm-hmm. for the ways, helping them to think about their work in productive ways and meaningful ways that can lead to effective action, as well as the policy realm. And this is through UCEA is where we collectively as a field have our strongest voice in terms of interfacing with the policy realm. I think many of us individually don't feel very powerful to influence policy. But with UCEA, it's a place where we come together and where we can have an impact, or at least be in conversation in the realms of policy. And so, again, if we really want schools, all of our schools, for all of our children to be vibrant workplaces for them, then we also need to be able to have a voice in the policy realm, because I think, while I don't think policymakers set out to make schools miserable places, the unintended consequences of many of the policy moves over the last decade and a half have in fact taken away a lot of the joy and made our schools places of stress and fear for students and teachers alike, and especially for those that were longing for greater equity, but in service of that equity, we've brought a lot of misery. So I really believe we can have both, that we can have joyful schools and greater equity. And I think the conversations that we have at UCEA are part of bringing that into being, imagining that, and then to collectively, and having a collective vision that then we can move forward together.
So can you share us the reasons why you have chosen to run for the EC and your vision for the future of UCEA?
Yes, well, the place where I have put all my professional eggs, the baskets that I've put all my eggs in this basket, is that in order for the world to be a better place, we need for our schools to be better. And in order to have schools that are more vibrant, more just, and more joyful places, we need school leaders who can think about their work in productive ways that lead to effective action. And so to do that, they need to be well prepared to think about their work. And it is through UCEA that we as a field have a mechanism to have the kind of conversations that will push our collective work forward in the realm of leadership preparation. And it's also, UCEA has played an important role in my own life professionally. And so it's out of a sense of gratitude for all that I've received from being a part of UCEA, the annual meetings, the Clark Seminar, the various ways that this organization helps me to stay up on the field, to stay current with current thought, that all of that is really important to me. And so I would like to have the opportunity to give back to the organization that's meant so much to me.
Mm-hmm. Great. So that was wonderful to hear from you, Megan. Thank you for your time and thoughtful responses, Dr. Tschannan-Moran. This interview will be archived on the UCEA Google Plus page and the UCEA YouTube channel. Listeners can access and share the interview at any time. Please stay tuned in for our next UCEA EC interview with Dr. Daniel Reyes-Guerra. Thank you and goodbye.